Hello everyone, this is Stephanie, your CSA coach, and it is week 12B of our 2026 CSA season. Jumping right into what we have this week, we have scallions. They are huge. Put them in a Debbie Meyer green bag, store them in the fridge. Once you're ready to use them, just rinse them off. The entire thing besides the roots can be used, so chop them up. They're a light oniony flavor, so great in stir fries. Great in soups, great in like a mashed potato bar or baked potato bar. You can also dehydrate them, so that's an option to preserve them, but a light onion flavor. So use a lot of them if you want a little bit heavier onion flavor. We have tomatoes. There should be a mix depending on what your share got of early girls, heirlooms, and reds. I think those are the three names. Store them on the counter until you're ready to use them. Once you're ready to use them, slice them up. They're great. We've been just eating tomato sandwiches. They're delicious. You can do a roasted tomato soup. You can do a roasted tomato sauce. Great chopped up and used in bruschetta, pico de gallos, or make like a tomato salad. So lots of options for our tomatoes. We have peppers. Cubanelle and green peppers. On Friday, I asked what your preference was in the Facebook group, whether you preferred cubanelle or green. We like both for equal reasons. I mean, cubanelle is a little bit sweet, I think a little bit sweeter, a little bit lighter flavor. But both are fantastic raw or cooked. They are stored in the crisper drawer of your fridge. Once you're ready to use them, chop them up and eat them on salads. Use them in a sheet pan meal. Put them in your grill packets. You could do the sheet pan chicken fajitas. That's on the website. We've just been eating them as a snack. So I slice them up and use them as a side, as a snack. Just easy. We got to pick 2 hot peppers. There was, I think, 4 different choices. Everything's well labeled. This is a jalapeno, stored in the crisper drawer of our fridge. Basically used to add heat to a recipe. So there are a few recipes on the website. I know one of my favorites to make is hot pepper honey. So you can save up some of your hot peppers. Use, I can't remember how much that recipe calls for, but you basically cook the honey with the peppers and it makes a hot honey. And then you can use that for different reasons. It's great. Along with that recipe, there's a dressing recipe that's fantastic. It's one of my favorite dressing recipes. But we're using this to add heat. So also great in pico de gallos. I just made a mango salsa over the weekend where I used my hot pepper from last week, stored in the crisper drawer though. We got cucumbers. Cucumbers are stored in the crisper drawer of your fridge. Once you're ready to use them, slice them up. You can leave the skin on or peel them. Slice them up and just serve them raw as a side, just like we do the peppers. You can put them in salads. There's a cucumber salad. There's also pickle recipes on the website. We have summer squash. Summer squash is stored in the crisper drawer of the fridge. Once you're ready to use them, again, can be used raw or can be cooked. You can shred them and freeze to, like I freeze in increments of a cup so that I can pull out and bake with them when they're not readily available. Working on a recipe with them either this week or next week. There's also a lot of recipes on the website. So there's potato and like I combine potatoes with these a lot. There's like potato and summer squash bites. There's a dip that I did this year with sauteed summer squash over like a regatta and dip for bread. That was delicious. Stir fry. We did a stir fry this week with ours from last week. And we also just like to slice them. They're nice and big, so we slice them long ways and put them on the grill. And that's one of our favorite ways to use them as a side. We have eggplant. This is an Italian eggplant, so larger than the other eggplant we got earlier in the season. Eggplant is stored in the fridge, but it doesn't like to be moist. It doesn't like to trap that moisture. So it's good to wrap it in like paper towel so the paper towel absorbs the moisture and keeps it away. It'll last a little bit longer. Eggplant is great. There's an eggplant dip on the website. You can also saute it. You can do it in roasted sheet pan meals. You can also slice it into rounds and grill it. We have our sugar cube cantaloupe, one of my favorite treats from the farm. You can smell this the whole ride home. It smells delicious. Stored in the fridge as soon as you get home. If you forget, not a big deal. Throw it into the fridge. Chop it in half, pull out those seeds, chop it up and eat it. Super easy. Pairs really well with like yogurt, granola bowl, cottage cheese. Also kind of navigating some different recipes with this. So stay tuned for that in the next couple weeks, probably this week or next week. We have beets. These are red beets. So very first thing you're gonna do is chop off those tops. The tops get stored in a separate bag, usually a Debbie Meyer green bag or a Ziploc bag. They're greens, so you can saute them up and make them a side. You can throw them into smoothies. You can throw them into your freezer bag for broth later in the season. Your bottoms, store them in a separate bag in the fridge. They can be used raw, so peel them, shred them, throw them on top of salads, thinly slice them, throw them on top of salads. You can pickle them, you can roast them. There's pickled beets 2 ways. That recipe is on the website. We also like to just roast them and use them as a side. Okay, we have our salad mix. Salad mix is stored just like this in the fridge. Once you're ready to use it, throw it into either a sink filled with water or a bowl filled with water, swish it around, get it nice and clean, throw it into your salad spinner, get it dry, and then you're ready to use it. Lightly dress it and use it simply as it is, or make a larger base to a salad. So add like our peppers and our onions and our tomatoes. Definitely could do a larger salad board DIY this week. So that's that. Watermelon. Watermelon is stored in the fridge. So just like this, throw it into the fridge. Once you chop it, like, so if you're just gonna use half, put it onto, I like to flip it onto a plate and then throw it into the fridge, or cover that half with saran wrap. You got to choose either red or yellow watermelon. Super easy to enjoy. Slice it up. It's hot out. It's refreshing to have watermelon. I think we're gonna have ours with dinner tonight. There are also a bunch of recipes for watermelon on the website, and they've all been linked on the weekly email that we received yesterday. The U-Picks, we got to pick flowers, also a fresh herbs. If you needed any fresh herbs, you could hit the herb gardens. And then we got to pick ground cherries. Ground cherries, we're simply lifting those plants, and what's fallen on the ground is what you're grabbing. They're tan or yellow typically. We're opening those up and enjoying what's inside. You can enjoy them just like that. So they're yummy just the way they are. You can throw them on top of salads. You can definitely eat them raw as a snack. You can dehydrate them. You can bake with them. So there's a bunch of recipes on the blog. I know I have a ground cherry puff pastry, I believe, and then I have ground cherries 3 ways. You can chocolate cover them, makes a fun dessert. Also, it looks amazing, but stored in the fridge just like this. So I keep them in here or in a Ziploc bag, stored in the fridge. We also got to pick shishito peppers, super easy picking. The plants are filled. They get stored in the fridge, and then once you're ready to use them, they can be eaten raw. They're most often either blistered on high heat on your stovetop. They can be grilled, so I like to skewer them and throw them on the grill. You can throw them onto a sheet pan and roast them. Lots of options there, but they also can be used in a salad. 1 in 5, 1 in 10 tend to be hot. We haven't really gotten any hot ones this year, so maybe they're milder this year. I have no idea. Last but not least, we have cherry tomatoes. Cherry tomatoes are typically stored on the counter. Again, our tomatoes like to be at room temperature. These don't last very long in our house because they are such a yummy snack. So I'll rinse them off, just put them in this container and people will walk by and grab them. But again, they can be used for a roasted tomato sauce. a roasted soup, pico de gallo on top of salads. So lots of really good options for a DIY salad board, like a large salad board that you can do. If you have romaine left from last week, you could do romaine, you could do our salad mix, you could do the zucchini, the cucumbers, the peppers, the scallions, even some of the fruit works on salad. That is it for this week. Please make sure you're posting any questions that you have. Take a look at your fridge and on your counter to make sure that you're using up anything you have left over from last week first, and then focus on what you have this week. Any questions, make sure you tag me so I see those questions. Any fun recipes that you find, make sure you share those with the group. And I will see you guys all again next week.